Vic Carucci here with my Take Two thoughts on the Bills' Thursday night game at Miami. Let's start with the fact that this is really a prove-it opportunity for the Bills. You could say, okay, they're 1-0. They did what they were expected to do in beating Arizona on Sunday, but they struggled mightily in that game. And this Miami team, far more talented, far more explosive than what the Arizona Cardinals have as a club, and the Bills have to establish, because this is a divisional game, have to establish that they're a team that can match that talent and surpass that talent. The Dolphins right now, the greatest threat, it would seem, to the Bills' chances of repeating as division champions. So this is an opportunity in prime time for the Bills to show what they can do. Okay, no surprise that Josh Allen has been doing his best to minimize the left-hand injury he suffered against Arizona on that second touchdown airborne deal that he did because, first of all, he's medically cleared to play. Secondly, he appears in the light practices that the Bills have had this week to have done fine with those. He is wearing a glove on that hand, or he did in practices. Not sure if he's going to wear it in the game. But keep in mind, this is Josh Allen. He was going to play, I think, no matter what. It's not his throwing hand, that's one thing. But think about the injuries with which he has dealt and has overcome in his career. This is a tough-as-nails player. We know that. And this hand injury, while I am not going to pretend to know how much it affects him or hurts him, I don't think is going to be a factor when it comes to Josh throwing the football. It will be interesting to see how he does running the football. And again, his legs so vital to the Bills' ability to beat the Cardinals. Running for 2 touchdowns, running for 2 fourth-down pickups, and a lot of collision there. So that hand, it'll be interesting to monitor whether he wears a glove or not, how well he holds up with that. The bigger injury, the bigger concern injury-wise to me, Taron Johnson. The Bills are going to miss him. He is, of course, not just their best defensive back. He's one of the very best nickel backs in the entire NFL. He's an all-pro. And he has been a big part of the Bills' ability to contain this explosive Miami offense in the previous meetings when it's come to the passing game and also his work with the run game. He's a solid defender in every respect and such a smart guy. Now, Cam Lewis did a very good job in his place playing most of that game against Arizona. I don't want to take anything away from Cam Lewis. Great football intelligence, great anticipation that puts him usually in the right spot to make plays because he knows where to be. However, he's not Taron Johnson. Again, very few players in the NFL are. And I do see the Dolphins being able to exploit that to a great extent. Probably as big a concern, at least in terms of the secondary, is the play of the safeties, Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin. They had their issues against Arizona. I think they're going to have bigger issues against this Miami team that presents this tremendous speed from Tyreek Hill, from Jalen Waddle. You know, 2 guys who are as fast as it gets, the biggest playmakers that you can imagine. And it will be more than a little bit of a challenge, even if the Bills had the best secondary you could imagine, or the best safety combination, which they once had with the fully healthy Micah Hyde, the fully healthy Jordan Poyer, who of course is no longer with the Bills. He will be an opponent, and we'll get to that in the Thursday night game, now playing for Miami. Another way to, of course, deal with the Dolphins' pass game, perhaps the best way, is getting pressure on Tua Tagovailoa. The Dolphins use a very timing, very rhythm-oriented passing game. What's that mean? It means all the routes, all the concepts that Mike McDaniel, their outstanding head coach when it comes to offense, designs, rely on everything happening in a certain sync pattern. And the way to disrupt that, of course, is to get pressure on, get hits on Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphin quarterback. Greg Rousseau, 3 sacks against Arizona, outstanding game, really a career game for him. Can he match something like that? I think it's unrealistic to expect that week in and week out. But he does need to continue to be a catalyst which is uplifting for the rest of the defensive line. The pass rush has to be a factor for the Bills to have their best opportunity of dealing with this explosive offense. The other thing the Bills need to do is do an outstanding job against the run. Terrell Bernard, Bills linebacker, made a great point this week when he said really the success of Miami's passing game stems from their ability to run the ball. That ability is going to be compromised because Raheem Mostert, a veteran and very talented explosive runner, is going to miss this game with a chest injury. So it will be interesting to see how the Dolphins respond with running depth. But their running backs aren't just able to, deal with perform with power, but it's great explosiveness and open field speed. And again, that causes things to open up defensively and affects what happens in the passing game. It's reasonable to at least, going to get to this topic, it's reasonable to at least wonder whether the fallout from Tyreek Hill's detainment that happened, of course, just sent shockwaves around the NFL, that happened on his way to the Dolphins game against Jacksonville Sunday as he's on his way to the stadium, right near Hard Rock Stadium. That detainment, seeing him face down, the video that we've seen, of course, it's gone viral with handcuffs on, and basically, and then being released and able to play in that game. He had an 80-yard touchdown in that game. But reasonable to wonder if something like that and all the discussion, the fallout from that, is going to detract from the Dolphins' focus on this game. You've heard from everybody, his teammates. Not only have you heard from Tyreek, but his teammates, his head coach, the entire organization calling out the Miami-Dade police for how that was handled. Just the discussion point alone, I think could be something that is so predominant with them. You just wonder, does it affect the way things happen on the field because of, in a short week, their lack of ability perhaps to focus on preparation. It's a short week for both teams. I think the Bills are at a bit of a disadvantage because they have to travel to Miami. But I think Miami's going to still feel like it always does, like a Bills home game. So many people who either live down there or who will travel down there to be a part of that crowd. And it's very possible, depending on how the game goes, that you get that Bills takeover thing. I think the Bills can come out on top, win this game, another close, competitive game, but it's going to require more elevated play from Josh Allen. It's going to require his receivers to do, I think, a far better job than they did in that opener of getting open and making plays. They've got to be able to match what Miami did. Jacksonville contained that explosive offense in game one. The Bills have been able to contain it in the past, but as I mentioned, they don't have the same defense, the Bills don't, that they've had before. And again, a key part of that, Jordan Poyer, is now lining up for Miami. How big of a factor is that going to be? Yes, he knows Allen. He knows the tendencies generally of Allen in this offense pretty well. But it's a different scheme with Joe Brady in charge fully now, changing it from what Poyer saw as recently as last season. But the Bills also know about Jordan Poyer, and he's not the guy that he was at his very best physically. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup comes off. But I'm expecting a Buffalo win, and I'm expecting once again a very, call it, entertaining game. For Two on Your Side Sports, I'm Vic Carucci.